I'm fine, my brother, man. It's good to hear your voice and be on here with you, man. I've been just asking if I go ahead and talk in a while. It's good to hear your voice and be on this time with you, my brother. You too, you too. Tell Auntie I said hello, man, and I want to salute you while I got you on here, man. You and Brother Stephen did an awesome job on that lesson, man. Oh, amen. Praise the Lord, brother. All praise to the Most High, man. We're just trying to walk things out, man, and live the life that He's called us to. And, man, just keep providing opportunities, man. I was telling Waryaz, man, we had met just a little bit ago. And big part of me and Kathy's heart, man, is to see Hebrews really walking in the true blessings of our father Abraham. And I think that really comes with how we are with one another and how we cooperate, communicate, and then do commerce with one another, you know. So we're just excited, man.
Yes,
sir. Keep on doing the Most High's will.
Yes, sir.
Praise.
And remember, it also written in the script. What was that song that the Most High was going to raise us up where we were sold? He said He was going to raise us up. So we got to get out of this mindset because the heathen suffering, that we're going to be suffering along with them. That's not necessarily the case. Now the wicked, go ahead, brother. Now the wicked, that's who's going to be suffering.
Jeremiah 29, 1 through 7 talks about, where the place where you are captive, you're supposed to, build houses and plant cities, and, that they're blessed because we're blessed. And so, when you look at that script, man, it says, pray for the city on where you are sent, for in its prosperity, you shall have prosperity, it shall have prosperity in your prosperity. Mm-hmm. And so we're to be prosperous with one another. We're to be an example, as we were saying the other day, of what it means to truly be Hebrew men in particular. So that's just where we're at, man. We're just trying to live that out.
All praises. All right, who's going first? Brother Stephen? You on deck?
Start out with an introduction for the lesson, and then we'll go into the first video. What we're dealing with, the lesson is about seminary school. And first we want to talk about the origins of the seminary school. The seminary comes from the Latin word seminarium, which means plant nursery, which can be interpreted as breeding ground. It's like a greenhouse that provides ideal conditions for seeds to grow into hardy plants.
You got it. If you got a link so I can show them, do you want me to show them, or you free?
I'll just read it.
Okay. All right.
It says a seminary was first a place for young men to become priests. But keep in mind that Hebrew men and women were enslaved at this time. The first seminary school was founded in the 1780s in Baltimore, Maryland, where Bishop John Carroll, seeing the isolation of American Catholics from Europe after the American Revolution, he made plans to develop American clergy. And the word seminarium, and a seminarium it means a seminar, a lecture, a Seminary Seminary. So that's originally where the idea for seminary school here in America came from. This bishop named John. He was a Catholic, and he developed this school for European Americans here in America after the American Revolutionary War. So when they first established these seminary schools, they established these schools not with us in mind. First of all, these schools were meant to educate white European men coming into this country.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what it was developed for.
That's an eye opener right there. The whole purpose of them creating these cemetery schools was not for us. Go ahead, brother.
Right. Yeah, they established them not with us in mind. But of course, after slavery, they had to find a way to enslave us, a way for the future enslavement of our people. So they had to establish these schools in order to educate the people that they knew was the biggest influence on the black community, which was the black preachers. So they used these schools to teach our pastors how to teach us the word in a way that would keep us in captivity.
Yep.
So with that being said, we got a video, family. We got a video. We have a pastor here that was educated at a seminary school, and we also have a pastor that was called by the Most High to preach that did not go to a seminary school. So let's listen to what they have to say. Everybody mute their microphone. I think the video is about 20 minutes. If y'all have something to say while the video is playing, y'all feel free to chime in if y'all got something to say. You know the video I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, Brother Bishop. Yeah.
Not Eddie Long, but
Bishop Noel Jones.
Right. Yeah, Noel Jones.
Yeah, I'm queuing it right now.
Okay.
There are no boundaries in.
All right. I forgot to send it to my phone, Mike. I forgot to send it to my phone. I mean, to my laptop. Okay, here we go. Oh,
Mike, I forgot to send it to my phone. Okay, here we go.
I got all these. Let me close these portals, these doors, these videos. Okay, here we go, family. Y'all let me know if the audio right.
That allows them to come to church every Sunday morning and to preach until we shout, the choir sings until we shout. But Monday through Saturday, they ain't got no programs, no services, nothing serving African American people. What is it about that? I can't imagine King was a brilliant man, but I can't imagine that he was so bright that he understood how important that intersection is, and that so many are missing that today. What's wrong?
Thomas, I want to join with assembling this group of persons. I don't control the mic. So,
You're not clear.
but there's several things, and I was hoping Dr. Taylor, as the senior statesman on the panel, would say something about this because he was a contemporary of Dr. King's. But he's being kind. The main issue we have not done, Cornel West always says we don't define terms, so we talk all around stuff. We haven't defined what the black church is. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But to respond to your question, Dr. King was not popular among African Americans until after he was dead. All right? Dr. King headed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And to us up north, that was their problem. In Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, the following was not large. It was not large, and in Chicago, the following was anti-King. Chicago was the home of Olivet Baptist Church, Joseph H. Jackson, who sided with Mayor Daley. They did not want King, they didn't want Jesse, so he didn't have no following until after he was like everybody walking around a piece of wood, see this from the original cross. Everybody became a King follower after he was shot and killed. so that because one of the problems that causes what you're asking is Dr. King was seminary trained, my brother. All right. So where you get the intersection of the social and the theological hermeneutic, 90% of African American clergy persons are not seminary trained. All right. I cannot be a lawyer if I don't go to law school. I cannot be a doctor if I don't go to med school. But all I got to do is turn around my car and hallelujah. I got the anointing and I got the
Hey, what y'all think about that? What is he trying to say? That you should go to school? Is that what he's trying to say, Brother Stephen?
Yeah, the point that he's making is, from his perspective, this is just his perspective.
Yeah.
On it. Other pastors are going to have a chance to speak as well. And what I forgot to mention before we started this video is, we on this panel, we're not playing this video because we feel that people should not go to seminary school.
Right.
That's not our reason for playing the video. I don't have a preference whether you go to seminary school or not, because I personally feel like seminary school does have its place in certain situations. And I also feel on the other pastor side that I don't feel like seminary school is necessary for a person to be able to rightly divide the word of the Most High.
Right.
Now, from the perspective that this brother is coming from, he's making a point that he feel like you should be required to go to seminary school in order to be able to preach.
Okay, that's what he.
That's the point that he's making.
But yeah, and you.
But why you gotta stop? I want to read something.
Okay.
I got a script that I'm gonna read. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull this script from the book of Matthew.
And y'all make sure y'all get the likes up and subscribe. That'll help the message get out. That'll help the message get out. Uh-oh. I'm trying to share a script in the chat.
Let's go to Matthew chapter 12.
Okay.
Matthew chapter 12.
Okay. The verse I just posted in the chat room is John 66:45, telling you that the Most High gonna do the teaching. So what I'm saying is, what he's saying that you got to go to school. Well, I submit to you, did Moses go to school? Did John the Baptist go to school? It was the school educated people that was crucifying Messiah. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to school. I learned a lot because somebody went to school, and I went to their classes in prison and in school. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. And at the same time, you can't turn your nose up because I didn't go and tell me I can't do what the Most High sent me to do when script back up that he gonna do the teaching. John 6:45. And also it's in Isaiah. But you ain't gonna find not one script. If you do, show it to me. That the Most High said go to school to teach his word. Okay, where you going, brother?
Okay, I want to look at Matthew chapter 5, and what I want to look at this for is because today's the modern day scribes and Pharisees are these preachers that feel like they're above the people that have not gone to seminary school in order to rightly divide the word of the Most High.
Yep.
And I want to read this scripture to show what the Messiah said about such things. And it's in red as well.
Okay. You said Matthew.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 20.
Okay.
It says, "For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, ye shall not in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment." So the reason I wanted to read that is, he said, "For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees." Because the scribes and the Pharisees of that time, they were holding people to a standard that they could not live up to themselves.
Yeah.
They were telling people to keep laws, statutes, and commandments that they weren't even upholding themselves.
Right.
So what they were doing is they were looking down the nose on the so-called unlearned, which is what they called the Messiah as well.
Yeah, they said he was unlearned.
They said he was unlearned. So they would look down their noses on people that they considered to be unlearned, just like this pastor doing in this video. He's looking down his nose on the people that he considered unlearned, but those same people that try to hold us to a certain standard that they can't even live up to themselves. So even though they have went to school and been taught all of these different ways to raise their voice here and you do it, but even though they know how to do all of those different things that they teach them in school, what has it benefited our community?
Right.
Because our pastors in our churches have been going to school ever since I can remember. But look at the effects that it has had on our community. Has it been a detriment to our community? Or has it helped our community?
It ain't helped.
Because if you look at the state of our people, we are worse off now than we were during the time of Martin Luther King, which is what they were speaking about in the video.
Right.
So all the seminary school teaching that all of these pastors in these churches have, what has it benefited our community? It has done nothing more than to further push us down into captivity, into slavery, than we ever have been before. Because even though these pastors were physically enslaved, we are worse off than they were because we mentally enslaved.
Man.
But you know what? I won't jump in here just a little bit.
Go ahead.
And I'm not necessarily in disagreement with what you're saying, but I think there's a lot more to it. The reason that our community is not better off has nothing to do with the education level of pastors. It has everything to do with the heart of the people, of the pastors and the men who are leading the community.
No, the statement that I made, I didn't say that we were in condition because of the education of pastors. That's not what I said. What I said was with all of the education that those pastors have received in the seminary schools, what has it benefited our community?
Right.
Like,
So
what's the difference in you being educated to teach the word and me being uneducated to teach the word, if neither one of us have benefited the community as a whole?
Right. So there are a lot of, pastors that have been to school and have done a lot of great things in the community. But unfortunately, as our community as a whole, I think you're right, Brother Stefan, as a whole, we're not really better off. We are probably in real respects worse off. But I probably could name, like y'all could name, pastors who aren't educated, who are just as jacked up and messed up and everything else. And there are those who are educated who are just jacked up and messed up. They just jacked up people with education. And that's what I was saying. Really what matters is the heart of the leader. Now, I know for me, and again, I'm not taking any offense to anything anybody's saying, first off and foremost, because going to school and being called and equipped is a calling from the Most High. And Stefan, you know that personally, I have shared with you what I think about you just as a man of God and how well studied you are I do think, I know from having been to school and gotten trained, and I was called and trained before I got there. If you go to school, it should be a calling. It should be because it is to advance the kingdom. Whatever we do, you know, in the role as leaders should be because we are called to advance the kingdom and the purposes of our King. There are a lot of folk who just ain't doing that, and they running around with titles and this, that, and the other. But there is something to a person dedicating themselves to being equipped. Now, whether you do that, like you know, y'all haven't gone to school, and I think the world of each and every one of you, because I will tell you to your face, and I will tell anybody else. These Hebrew brothers I'm studying and working with and being with now are some of the most astute brothers in the word that I know. You all are more well-read than a lot of guys that have been to school. So really what matters is, how do you believe the Most High has called you to do the work he's called you to do, and how do you believe he's called to equip you? I know my calling is to be a moray and a college professor. So for me to be able to do what he's called me personally to do, I had to get the credential to be able to do it. Right? That's just what it takes. But I also want to go back a little bit and say that the greatest schools, you know, Stefan, and I'm only saying this to you because, you know, you opened up the conversation. The great schools of the schools of the prophets were in Israel long before we were ever in captivity. You know, Gamaliel and them were studying. Those were black folk.
Oh, yeah.
Those were not Jewish people. Those were not Ashkenazi Gomer people. Those from the Caucasus Mountains. Those were our brothers and sisters teaching, leading. Paul had, by the time he was 22, I think it is, history tells us that he had the equivalent of 2 PhD degrees.
Mm.
Yeah, that's just, you know, Paul had that kind of education. And God, the Most High, sent him to uneducated people. Peter didn't have hardly any formal education, and he sent him to the educated Hebrews. See, we have to follow what the Most High's called us to do. You know, and I've never met Dr. Wright, Jeremiah Wright, but as I heard the conversation, you know, and I know we need to hear the video more.
Yeah.
But the point, I think, whether there's a point he was trying to make or not, you do what it takes to become equipped in the word according to what the Messiah's called you to. If you find that in going to school, go for it, because it's what he's told you to do. If it's do what brothers like y'all are doing, getting equipped, I know Stefan has introduced me to more books than most people I know personally. And Miguel, the books y'all tell me about, I'm like, wow, you know, I'm excited because I'm dealing with some men whose hearts are dedicated to their Messiah, to the Most High, to do what it takes to be equipped to do what the Most High's called them to do. Y'all, do you know y'all's library is more extensive than a lot of guys that have master's degrees?
I didn't know that.
I mean, I'm just telling you. But it's so yes, and I want to make this distinction as well. You know, there are, like the seminary I went to, one of the very best in the entire country as far as academics and everything. But there's something you get when you do sit in a class with people who are truly dedicated to studying the word. Now, I know that there are a lot of them that don't have the truth we have, but I'm telling you, I learned a lot. It added to me and my ability, because that's the calling in my life. But when you have a library like y'all had, Mikael brought up a book the other day when we were doing the lesson. I hadn't heard of that. So I can tell y'all that, and I probably got books y'all haven't heard of. I mean, I've read, and I'm not trying to just, we all have dedicated our lives to reading. And so the Bible says, study to show thyself approved unto Yah, a workman, rightly dividing the truth.
Right. But the reason why we're doing this lesson is not to condemn anybody.
That's right. That's right.
We're not condemning anybody for going to school.
No.
That's the reason why I said what I said before we started. I think that school is a great thing. I think that seminary school has its place.
Yes.
It's true. I'm not going against the people that have gone to seminary school. All praise to the Most High, because brothers like you can teach us stuff that you learned while you
Right.
was in the school, the seminary school.
That's why it was a must.
But we got scriptures like this right here in Mark 1. We got scriptures like this right here in Mark 1. The reason why we're doing this is to encourage our brothers and sisters not to be discouraged. Because all of our life we've been told that you have to go to seminary school. We're doing this to encourage our brothers and sisters to not be discouraged because you don't have a seminary education. You
Right,
don't have to
right.
have a seminary education in order to be able to rightly divide the word of the Most High.
Yeah, because I was dividing it rightly before I went to that school.
Right, let's go to Mark 1, chapter 16.
Okay.
Mark 1, chapter 16.
Hey,
Let me say something before you read, Hebrew. Let me say this. Everything y'all said was well put. Now, I'm coming from this from a personal standpoint. The problem I have with pastors,
yeah, that's the problem I have.
when we read this book, and we see that we the people, why ain't they teaching in church with all this seminary school degrees and all that?
That's what
This
makes
is
me
the
angry.
problem I have with these lies being teaching in the pulpit. He rose on Sunday. The book don't say that. You know
That's
what I'm saying? Keep the Sabbath. Why we keep it Sunday?
yeah.
This is the problem I have with these guys because I'm reading the same Bible you got, and you got all this education.
Calm.
But still,
That's right.
Some folks step up to the plate and try to say, "Hey, look what I found out, Pastor. Look at that. They shoot us down. You can't tell me what to say. Dude, what teach me? I can teach you 50 years, Negro."
But see, Michael, that's the thing I would say. That's a hard issue. Like, I had that same thing. I had a pastor who loved me dearly, and I would bring stuff to share at church, and he would try to shoot me down. I didn't have no education at the time, but I was well studied. My grandfather was a college professor. My father was a medical doctor. So I've been well studied all my life. I didn't have to have it, but I do know that there are doors and avenues that the Most High will open up for you if you do have it, that he generally doesn't open if you don't. But the thing is, and to your point, is, man, that's a hard issue. One of the reasons I said, you know what, I'm not going to let this brother, who I loved dearly at that time, still love him to this day, but I'm not going to let this person shoot me down because I'm coming, with something I know that I'm rightly divided. But because, you just don't want me outshining you. That would have nothing to do with real education. Just being able to rightly divide the word. Yeah. He just didn't want me to look better than him. And so I said, you know what? I come from an educated family. My mother and father and grandfathers sweat, blood, and tears. And all kinds of sacrifice. And I just said, for me in my own personal life, I'm going to get all that I can get, partly because of my family heritage. And I also know that like there are doors, like when I go speak at a lot of these large convention meetings, one of the reasons I'm able to go and do it is because I have a PhD. Not because because I'm necessarily more able to divide the word better than you, but that credentialing does open up a door for the Most High to use me, or use persons with that degree in a different way.
Okay, well,
Right.
let me ask you a question right there, Brother David. Okay,
Yes, sir.
like at these conventions that you go to, and you have a chance to speak because of your credentials,
Yes.
are you able to teach the truth of the Bible versus having to teach what you learned at seminary school?
No, see, that's the thing. Once you get that degree, it's like what my wife always said, honey, when you get that degree, you have just as much ability and more as they do to say, you can say as an expert, ABC equals XYZ. And guess what? I can argue with them. They have to listen to what I have to say. And that's why I'm not walking with them like I used to at all, because I have told them things and they get angry because I'm just as much or more educated than they are, and they know they can't say nothing against me. See, that's one of the reasons why I'm glad I have the credential.
What's the
If I didn't have it, they wouldn't even let me in the door in a lot of those places.
what's the demographics of them conventions?
It's Mzungu land.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
So when I tell them, that you know from reading the scripture that the Sabbath is Saturday, and it's been like that since Genesis, and it's not going to change, and you're replacing the theology to say that it has changed with the resurrection of the Messiah, you know is a lie. And I can stand toe to toe and say that to them.
But the scripture tells us that we are supposed to, like, even in a setting like that, when we have the opportunity to bring the word to the Mzungu or to those other nations of people, we are to let them know their place. We're supposed to let them know, hey, you Esau, you the end of the world. I'm Jacob. I'm the beginning of the world to come. See, if we gonna have those credentials and be able to be in those situations with the credentials that we have, if we not bringing out the truth, then what's the purpose of having the credentials to be in the situation?
Yeah. And it's like, it's a heart condition, it's using wisdom, but it's also, there's some folk, and it depends on, to me in some respect, who and what has the Most High called you to. If he gives you an opportunity, and it's not just calling, it's also opportunity. Because Stefan, Miguel, Cortez, and your warrior, the Most High may put you in a place where, because of who you are and where you've been, you can really just tell somebody with a PhD what the real deal is. But that's taking, responding to the opportunity and the calling that the Most High gives you. All of us are supposed to be able to do that. The main thing is, and that's what, I was talking with you met Tim over the phone, Stefan, and I was talking to my sister-in-law and them, and it's like, there are things, like right now, I'm preaching at North Shelby Baptist Church the next 2 Sundays. Now, the last time I preached, it was first Sunday this month. My deep conviction is to teach them the truth of who we are and whose we are and who they are and what the real deal is. And I told them, I said, I'm going to say some things to y'all in the next couple of weeks that had this been 30 years ago, I wouldn't be able to walk out of this place. I might not be able to walk out today, but I'm going to say it anyway. And they said, oh, Dr. Jones, we're going, with that. But when I got finished, they heard the truth. They heard about the commandments. They heard that what they have been doing is living under the commandment of Constantine and not the commandment of the Most High.
That is dangerous. That is dangerous.
That's very dangerous.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
A man with some cojones, whether you got credentials, there are a lot of guys. I think part of the problem that Mikael brought up with, which he's right on, there are people that have the credentialing, but ain't got the cojones to say what needs to be said. That's really what it comes down to, too. Or you might have the truth, but are you willing? Are you gonna be like Jeremiah and not be afraid of their faces?
Right.
That's what it really takes. And I'm telling y'all, pray for me because I got some stuff to say this coming Sunday and the following. You know, they ain't gonna like it. And I might not walk at it, but I'll be walking with the Most High.
We got back.
I might need y'all to surround the church for me.
But ultimately, I feel like at the end of the day, once we study this word, once the Most High opened up our minds, because the key to getting an understanding of these scriptures is keeping God's law, statutes, and commandments.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
See, that's the key. Like, I can go to every school in this country that I want to go to, and they can teach me as much as they want. But if I'm not keeping God's law, statutes, and commandments, He's not going to open up my understanding to these scriptures. That's just what I believe because that's what I read. That's why I believe.
You know, that with all of this, you know, the next problem I got with you guys.
Yeah.
Look, what because my life being right now, if I know that we people of God and that we're supposed to keep the Most High law, how better would our community be? How much better our brotherhood and unity would have been if we would have known this stuff? You know what I'm saying? And they held it from us, and they knew. Let's see, Brother Galen, I got 5 witnesses. The Most High put us against 5 pastors. I got a witness on the screen. Cartier, you on that? We went up against all 5 of them. You know what they say? Everything y'all saying is true. But we can't say it.
Yes, sir.
What they say, Cartier? Tell them what they say.
One of them said he's been what do you say? He has to follow protocol.
What protocol?
He being backed by a high power, and then he gotta follow protocol.
So the traditional man is a higher power than the word.
That's what he was saying.
Notice I tied that in with Mashiach, the tradition of men.
Because we asked him when it was the second thing, and he said Sunday. We said, okay, you know that. Why are you holding church on Sunday? That's when he said that. And then the other one told us that the people wasn't ready for the truth.
Who said that? Ain't that something?
So we was like, who are you to withhold the truth, and how you know who ready and who ain't? That blood gonna be required in your hand because you withhold the truth.
Yeah, one of them told me, let's just talk. Let's go off top right here. Let's just put the book down. You all over the scriptures.
No, we ain't gonna put the book down. No, we ain't. Don't put the Bible down. Don't put the Bible down. That sounds like Darby. Don't put the Bible down. I know. Brother Darby said some questionable things, but I'm just focusing on the truth he did speak. I didn't agree with everything he taught. Let me just put that out there. But yeah, when you said that, put the Bible down, I heard that, Mike. Don't put the Bible down. In other words, you hitting him with them haymakers. He said, stop hitting it.
Go ahead, sis.
Let me say something right quick. I'm gonna tell y'all. I see these schools, and I don't know what y'all's aspect of it. I see these schools as a threat. Number one, they don't teach who the biblical Israelites are. Number two, they is okay with white supremacy. Number three, they okay with whitewashing of the scriptures. I see the number four, they do not challenge this Romanized beast calendar that the Bible warned us was gonna rule the world. How you preparing people to meet the end and you ain't even challenging the beast? I'm done. Go ahead, Brother Steph. I had to go and say that. I see him as a threat. You holding back. Hey, this is warfare. What you holding back for? This is what holding back. You're holding back the truth. You close the door to heaven, and you need to go in yourself. What Bible verse is that? You shut up the gates of heaven, and you ain't going in yourself. That's a Bible verse. Let me find it. Y'all go ahead. I'm gonna find that verse. I'll post it in the chat.
Well, see, what we have to understand as individuals on this platform, but we are one. We are unit. We all brothers and we all teachers on this platform. But we still all have lived individual lives. Like, Brother Galen's experiences have not because I'm sure
Yeah.
that he has been exposed to a lot of different caliber of people that we've been exposed to. And the things that we are at liberty to say, if he say those same things, everything that he don't work for his whole life could just be flushed down the drain overnight.
Yeah. And he can go places we can't go. He can go places, you hear me? He can go places we can't go. He know how to.
And we have to still use wisdom.
Yeah.
Right. The scriptures say agree with thy adversaries quick.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that as well. But what I wanted to say a while ago is, when I was a deacon in the church, our church was a part of the Baptist Association of Lee County, Mississippi, Tupelo, surrounding area. And as a deacon, I understood that our church had guidelines that we had to abide by that came down from the Baptist Association. If we didn't abide by the rules that was handed down from the Baptist Association, our church would be kicked out of the association, which would cause that church to lose a lot of funding. So with that being said, our pastor was going to do whatever they told him to do. He was going to preach whatever they told him to preach. He was a very educated man. Very educated. But he couldn't really teach the word of the Most High in its entirety and truth. He had to teach it the way they told him to teach it.
Yeah.
Hey, let me say this, Stefan. Can I just see? Here's what my father in the ministry told me, Dr. Robert Smith. He said this years and years ago before I even went to school. He said, "Son, you say." Well, he didn't say me. He said, "You say whatever God said, but I'm gonna say the Most High." He said, "You say whatever the Most High told you to say at 11. If they fire you at 2, He'll pick you up at 6." And see, the thing is, too many people don't really walk in the freedom of having their own financial resources. See, I've always been in, my wife and I made sure that all our lives, I had a job. I wasn't dependent on the church to pay my house note. So if I have to say whatever he tells me to say, I can go home and ain't got to worry if I'm gonna be living there in 2 weeks. See, a lot of, like you say, a lot of these guys, they don't have that. That's why, man, like I was talking with Boyaz earlier. You know, man, part of my heart, Stefan, you know this is how I am. That I want us, particularly us 5, to be in such a position that we don't have to depend on. I don't want to have to depend on Sanford University.
That's right.
I don't want Boyaz to have to depend on the furniture factory. I thank God, Miguel, your family has a business and y'all own them trucks, as far as I know. You know, but I want to see you, if that's what you feel the most, I want you to come off that truck and be able to teach this stuff that you're talking about 24/7.
Woo, that's a blessing.
You know, that's what I mean. Cortez, I want to see Cortez being able to do whatever the Lord's laid on his heart. I believe he said his name goes by Hananiah because grace is in his heart. I want to see him do that. Whatever he laid on his heart. The Most High has called us 5 to do some things. And each one of us has to play our part and our role. But those guys can't say what they say because they're dependent too much on, like you said, whatever that church is giving them. And I've never done what I did for money. I hope I told you this story, Stefan. I say Stefan, we and I talked a lot more than me and your other brother. But my wife and I dedicated our lives to the Most High years ago. I remember one time these folks called us to come out and preach. It was about 45 miles from my house. Man, I was a social worker. I had no money. My wife had just come out of the hospital. We had nothing. And we got in our little car. We rode there on fumes. And I was like, I found out there was a bank, I was going to give me a little check. And I was going to cash that check, put some gas in my car, and drive home and praise the Most High. Man, you know what they gave you right now? They gave me a gift card to go buy some books. the subject, and we prayed in the spirit, out of the spirit. We prayed in tongues, out of tongues. And guess what? The Most High took us home on them same funerals.
Oh, praise it.
And tell them what happened when you got home.
The car ran right out of the gate. We started up the next day.
Wow, man.
So I'm telling you from experience that my wife and I have gone places to share the truth of the Most High's word, and man, they didn't even know what they were supposed to. And he carried us all the way back and forth. But see, you have to have your heart made up. That's what I said earlier. It's a heart issue. If those brothers who have the audacity to say that they know the truth and don't teach it, I think Miguel or somebody said it, the blood of those folks who are lost is on their hands. I'm not going to live, I'm going to tell the truth. Now, I can't speak for nobody else, but I know that's where I'm living my life. And I know some brothers, man, they're trying to do what's right, but it's hard when you're dependent on that paycheck. And I remember, man, I was a Southern Baptist convention denominational worker. And they were going through all these, there were people coming to work, and they had a pink slip and a box, and they gave you an hour to get out. And they said, well, Jones, what you gonna do? I said, I'm gonna keep on doing what the Most High told me to do. He told me to plant churches. I said, you do what he told you to do. See, you're worried because you're not based on the Most High's calling. I'm here because I'm called to it. And if they let me go, I'm gonna go straight home, and the Most High's gonna pick me up. They fire me at 2, the Most High's gonna pick me up at 6. Do what he told you to do. And I have been sustained every day of my life. Hallelujah. Every day. I'm sorry, what am I doing?
You good? Let me bring these scripts out. We're
Go
going
ahead,
to
bro.
Mark chapter 1. We're going to go. These type of conversations are tough conversations, but they build strength and character in the brotherhood, and it does the same thing for the people on our channel, like our family that's in the chat. See, these type of conversations have to be had because we're not the only ones that feel this way. It's other people out there that feel the same way that we feel, but they can't talk about it, or they don't know how to express themselves in a way to be able to talk about it. Or a lot of times when you're dealing with religion, people fight you, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Better believe it.
Hey, ain't it amazing if, like Brother Gay, you get fired for teaching the truth, but they won't fire you for committing adultery and raping kids and the pastor. I'm talking about the preacher. That won't get you fired. But going against protocol, as they call it. I ain't mean to cut you off. I'm just thinking about that. Go ahead, Brother Stephen.
Okay, Mark chapter 1, verse 16.
Mark 1:16. Okay.
Now as we walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea. So these fishermen, for they were fishing. And Yeshua said unto them, come ye after me, and I will make you to become fishers of men. And straightway they forsook their nets and followed him. And he had gone a little further then. He saw James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, who also were in the ship, mending their nets, these fishermen too. And straightway he called them, and they left their father Zebedee in the ship with the hired servants, and went after him. And they went into Capernaum. And straightway on the Sabbath day he entered into the synagogue and taught. And they were astonished at his doctrine. We talk about Joseph's son, the carpenter. What
Yeah.
they call him. Ain't you Joseph?
Yeah. We know him.
What you doing knowing how to teach like that? But we know that it's the spirit of the Most High that's allowing the Messiah to do what he do. Okay? For he taught them as one that had authority and not as the scribes. See, these were educated men.
Yeah.
They was astonished
But look, though, he teaching with authority, though. I like that.
Teaching with a dog. A dog.
They playing with the sword. He's slinging it.
There was in the synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, saying, "Let us alone. What have we to do with thee? Thou Yeshua of Nazareth, art thou come to destroy us? I know thee who thou art, the Holy One of Elohim." And Yeshua rebuked him, saying, "Hold thy feet, and come out of here." And when the unclean spirit had torn him and cried with a loud voice, he came out of him. And they were all amazed and so much that they questioned among themselves, saying, "What thing is this? What new doctrine is this? For with authority commanded he even unclean spirits, and they do obey him." And immediately his fame spread abroad throughout all the region round about Galilee. So he called 4 fishermen. He's the son of a carpenter. He went into the synagogue on the Shabbat and talked with authority. So much so, and the Pharisees said to themselves, "What is this for? That he speak with such authority."
Yeah.
See, when you filled with the Holy Spirit of the Most High,
Yes, sir.
and you operate in his laws, statutes, and commandments, he'll open these scriptures up to you.
Yep.
You will be able to read these scriptures and teach with authority. Now, I might not know the big words because I have been to seminary school, but I can break it down to where a 3-year-old can understand through the power of the Most High. Ain't nothing that I'm doing that's so good or that I'm special. It's all through the power of our Elohim that these things are done. Okay, let's watch a little bit more of the video. So we didn't even get 5 minutes in. Go ahead.
We tell y'all there might be some more parts.
It's gonna be some part 3.
All right, here we go.
50,000 Negroes following him. All right? So, no, it ain't like the theology of King. But then again, I mean, the theology of King, trying to answer you, that's one reason. That's one reason, all right? But to try to follow through, the whole, there's some other issues that that's multi-layered in terms of the disconnect. Dr. Taylor also mentioned in the fellowship for him at Interdenominational Theological Center, which you said, Eugene, about the disconnect between Africa and African Americans. That's a long historical problem. And then it goes back to the definition of the black church. When you say the black church, when we say the black church, we got to realize we're talking about a kaleidoscope.
I'm sorry, Brother Steph. That is part of it. Go back to the black church. But what about these slave Bibles? What about these cemetery preachers that the Europeans put in front of us? Reason why we got a disconnect from Africa. You see, he's not looking at that, or he refused to mention it. Y'all see what I'm saying?
Hey, but when he gets through talking, this next bishop that's gonna speak,
Yes, sir.
he gonna bring out all the points that he's talking about.
Oh, okay. I only got to about halfway. You can tell I didn't get a chance to listen to all of it. You can tell, can't you? Okay. All right. Okay.
Reality in terms of theology, in terms of hermeneutics, in terms of training, in terms of what have become known as denominations, in terms of what it takes to start a church, what kind of church. Turn your collar around, you got a church.
That ain't in the Bible, y'all. That ain't. I'm getting back on the. Okay, let the video play. Let me. I'm sorry, I didn't listen. I got about halfway through the video. Hold on. I can tell you laughing. He gonna get that in the end.
What do you mean the black? Because to talk about perfecting, to talk about City of Refuge, to talk about National Baptist, Progressive National Baptist, African Methodist Episcopal, Christian Methodist, you're talking all over the map in terms of what is the black church, and there have been those different streams running through the definition historically since the 1700s. and that are still there. There's also been a disconnect, as Eugene said it, between African Americans, but also between the living word that we hear on Sunday and the life we have to live on Monday. Kelly Brown Douglas says we can't talk about homosexuality because we can't talk about sexuality. So that there's that kind of perpetuated propagation of ignorance that goes on Sunday mornings. It has nothing to do with the life I live on Monday morning. And it's not just in the mega churches. It's in the storefront churches that will get me high for 2 hours. So I feel good, but then I got to go back into hell on Sunday afternoon. So that's why King had a large following of seminary. In fact, if you look at the guys and girls he surrounded himself with, that's one type of clergy that you do not find overwhelmingly standing in the pulpits of the African American pulpits in the year 2002.
Let me. I want you to know that as I ask this next question, I'm looking this way. I'm not trying to cast aspersion on anybody on this panel or the second panel. I mean that sincerely. But I'm looking this way because I want to pick up on something that Jeremiah Wright raised it without casting aspersion on anybody on this panel or the one coming behind us. But Jeremiah Wright raised an issue about the fact that when we call King the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he sure enough was a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Every black preacher I know wants to be called the Reverend Dr. So-and-so. I'm looking this way. Everybody wants to be called the Reverend Dr. So-and-so. Noel Jones, you were known as one of the foremost intellectuals in ministry in this country. Talk to me about the challenge that presents for the African American church when we have folk who are not trained in seminary, and whether or not that is in fact, is Jeremiah right? Is that a requirement? Given that so many of us believe that all you got to be is spirit filled, and if the Lord speaks to you from on high, that's all you need on Sunday morning, Doc.
This Hebrew right here is on pistol, y'all.
What you said? He on point.
He's a very intelligent Hebrew man. Now, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, that brother is very educated. He's a powerful preacher.
Yeah.
He went to seminary school. Okay, this pastor right here is self-educated through the Spirit of the Most High, and he's just as much a powerful preacher as the other pastor that went to seminary school. But listen to what he has to say versus what the other pastor just said. All right, go ahead, bro.
Okay. Yeah. When he came in the video, I had to stop listening. Something come up, but okay. I noticed how he just chilling and waiting on his time too.
How much gratitude I want to show right about now.
At least they won't say I'm playing favorites with my pastor.
Nonetheless, I think it's quite significant the point that Dr. Wright is raising, and I think it's essential that we define the 21st century church, because from what I'm hearing, it seems as if the church is actually the black preacher.
The church is the black preacher.
It's from what I'm hearing, it seems as if the church is a black preacher because the people in the pews don't set policy. The committees are losing their strength. And if you notice carefully, what has happened is when Pentecostalism became the leading denomination and the fastest growing denomination, it changed many dynamics in the whole traditional Christian, black African Christian world. What happens is the Pentecostals' primary objective was to think heavenward. If you were to consider the Apostolic Pentecostal in particular, you will notice that the greatest thing that a person could achieve was the new birth experience, baptism in Jesus' name, the receiving of the Holy Spirit. Now, what happens there is that the focus immediately went to the other world, into getting into heaven. And the faith of the Pentecostal was, meet God, have a spiritual experience, let's get to heaven. The traditional church, on the other hand, dealt so much with those contemporary things that were mundane to operate their lives, that there was a problem between the Pentecostals and the traditional church, particularly when the Pentecostal church literally evangelized the traditional church, because it's out of the traditional church that many people went into the Pentecostal movement, and consequently there was a rift between both groups. The neo-Pentecostals, the charismatics, and the faith preachers, they came along and took the faith to get to heaven, and then they turned it into health, wealth, and prosperity. And so all of a sudden now, we're teaching faith that was originally Hebrews chapter 10, closing faith to salvation, and it becomes a now faith, the substance of things hoped for, of course, and the now was subject to subjective theology, and it now began to deal with the issues of being rich, having money. And this further divided us because now faith became an individual affair. So if you have the faith, then of course you can get whatever you want from God. So the church stopped dealing with those issues of suffering, because under that presentation, God will miraculously do things for you. So if you come down the aisle with $20 or $30 and I lay hands on you, then of course, immediately all of your trials will be over. Now, the thing that happens here is, because of this presentation, because every presentation needs theology to make it strong. If there's no hermeneutical substratum for this presentation, then of course now we're going to have a problem, because theology has to leave something in people's minds psychologically. And if you tell me that God is going to bless me by simply bringing something to you, and I don't have a plan, because when I'm preaching and I'm making that presentation, I have to have a plan. And the plan is, if I've got 6,000 people out there, 3,000 will give me $25. But now, what is the plan for those who brought the money?
Well,
Now understand this, and I'm in the middle of it myself. Understand this. When people bring money based on a theology that God is supernaturally going to respond, that eliminates the development theology that is necessary to make people change their lives. And once the presentation is made, people need opportunity. Now here's where opportunity comes. Because we don't have to ask committees anymore to decide who they want to be with. And we have even eliminated using denomination as titles for our churches. We don't call our churches particularly Baptist church or Apostolic church today. What we do is we give a name out there that everybody can come to that ministry and deal with that ministry, because we don't want to be slated denominationalism. We don't market denomination. We market individuals today. Wherever you go, the church is personality driven. It is not institutionally driven any longer. It's personality driven. So the wonderful thing about it, though, because it's not all pejorative, the wonderful thing about it is that you don't have to bring Baptists and Methodists together. For instance, in my city, I don't have to have City of Refuge vote or decide to have anything to do with Faithful Central, vote or decide to have anything to do with West Angeles, or decide to do anything with faith.
because it's not institutionally driven. The churches don't have to come together, but Noel Jones ought to get together with Charles Blake, and Charles Blake ought to get together with Chip Murray, and Chip Murray ought to get together with Kenneth Ulmer and put all our monies in the same thing and make the opportunity for the people in our churches. Because money talks in America. I ran it. Let me. Noel Jones, Bishop Jones, they used to call y'all, you forgive the phraseology, they used to call y'all poverty pimps. Now they call you prosperity preachers. So the vernacular has changed. I think that's a good thing, from poverty pimps to prosperity preachers. But Shakespeare asked the question, what's in a name? A rose by any other name would still smell just as sweet. Whether it's poverty pimps or prosperity preachers, there are a lot of folk who think there is too much focus, too much emphasis in the black church on materialism, on money, on gain. You heard what James Cone said earlier. Talk to me about that. And I raised that question only because I want to expand this conversation and talk about this phenomenon called the mega church. It seems to me, as one on the outside looking in, that one of the reasons why the mega church is such a phenomenon now is we got people preaching every Sunday. You know, that if you do this, if you do that, if you give me this, if you do this, you can have all of this. So it's that prosperity message that I think is packing out some of these so-called mega churches. But talk about that if you would.
Well, one of the things that's so wrong is that theology actually sets in the mind of people a certain psychological view of life, particularly in a church situation where there is so much influence coming from the man who is standing as the voice of God. And oftentimes it fails to deal with the real issues of suffering and the real issues of a problematic world and difficult times. This is why America had
Yes, sir.
difficulty dealing with
Stop for 1 second. Okay, now let me bring out this point as well, because through study, we know that the keeping of records from the Most High started during the time of Adam and Eve, because we know that Enoch and his children studied the laws of the Most High, right?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, when did it become, at what point was it taken to this level of being, you had to go to a school to get it? Because during that time, it was a family tradition for the men of the family to read the scroll of the Most High and hand it down from generation to generation, not only through verbal talks, but also through transcript. I want everybody to answer that question.
When did it become a thing?
Yeah.
Uh,
When did it stop just being a thing handed down orally and through manuscript from father to son and start being a thing that it had to be taught in school? So-called theologian teaching.
I think it kind of started in the Babylonian captivity. I think it's kind of started there. It was beginning to start. But then the Greek captivity, the Greeks started putting puppets in place. But I might be wrong. Correct. Brother Galen, he ain't here right now. But I don't know. Enlighten me, brother. Okay, Sister Kathy, I see you.
No, I'm asking a question.
My research, when I studied, it showed me it kind of started back in the Babylonian. They began to speak that. We started drifting away from Hebrew and stuff right then. They started start coming up with the different ways of, you know, them little dots and dashes. It began to slowly infiltrate right then. And then the Greeks just took it to a whole other level, and the Romans, when I say Romans, I'm talking about these people we see today. They put it on steroids. So it's been ongoing. It's been, yeah, I'm trying to. I heard somebody come in and see. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I'm sorry to take a call, gentlemen, about the land. So sorry about that.
That's okay. Handle your business. Hey, can you take a question right quick?
Yes, sir.
Shoot him the question, Brother Steph.
The question was, we know that during the time of Adam and Eve through manuscript, that they started taking down the laws of the Most High, taking them down, not only verbally, but also through manuscript, through Enoch, on up through the generation. At what point were the scriptures taken? At what point did the heathen nations get their hands on those manuscripts and start establishing these schools of teaching for their people?
Yeah, the first time it happened, I got my history. Within the destruction of the library in Alexandria, which is in Africa.
That's the Greek captivity.
Yes. So if memory serves me, if I remember my history correctly, I believe that was the first time, because that's Alexander, the quote unquote great, ran through that part. So he went from Macedonia all the way up to India.
Okay, that was during the time of the Maccabean revolt as well, right?
Stefan, yes, I'm pretty sure that is that.
A little after, yeah. I mean, a little bit before.
Was it 300? The 300. Let's see, 300 BC, right?
Well, I know during the time of the Maccabean revolt, they were fighting against Alexander the Greek.
Yes.
So that was during the Greek captivity.
Yes, and so let's see, and then so probably that was probably the very first time. No. The first time that, well, it depends on how you want to look at it, because you go back to 725 BC, it was the first captivity for Israel, for the northern tribes. They were taken away, and then in 525 or 545, and I'm getting my little dates there.
Yeah.
It was definitely in the 8th century and the 6th century that we were carried away 2 different times. It wasn't really, if you're talking about Japheth getting the text, it was when Alexander came through. But if you're talking about just other people of color, the Hamites getting it, it came, in those first 2 captivities.
Brother David.
Yes, sir.
Did they not start adding these dots and dashes during the Nebuchadnezzar, during the Babylonian captivity? You don't know.
I don't remember exactly.
That's about
it, though. That the language itself, like the shirts you wear, that's an older form of Hebrew. But as the language itself develops, like most languages,
It's not the Paleo Hebrew, it's the
modern.
more ancient.
Yeah, because what the Messiah said in Matthew chapter 5, he said, "Not one jot, not one tittle will pass away from the law till all is fulfilled." Well, he was referring to all those little dots and little teeny lines and things like that went around all the letters. Okay. And so those things have, they're important. As the language developed, as the written language developed, those became important. So, because a little dot and a little tittle adds meaning to the word.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, I mean, if I'm a,
question that was running through my mind because, like, I remember studying the ancient text and where it talked about during the time of Adam and Eve is when the first started with the laws of the Most High, and they started keeping up, and passing it down through the generations, and it went from Enoch, and it went all the way through the flood with Noah, the manuscript. But what I was trying to figure out was at what point did the heathen nations get it and start? I know the Greeks did a lot of it.
Man.
And I was thinking that it was the Greeks in captivity because the Greeks stole a lot of our manuscripts, and of course, they made it their own and flipped it around, and that's how it wound up being the way that it is today. But it was just a question that was running through my mind, and I figured that you might know.
Yeah, I think that to me, from what I studied in history, the biggest steal came when the people from Eastern Europe, the Khazarians, stole everything. That's when it really got, really stolen, and they started all that white supremacy and supplanting us for them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Can you see the screen?
That was during the time when we as Hebrews was at war with the Muslims on one side, and at war with those other nations of people on the Mongolians, I think. And we hired the Khazarians to help us fight, and they wound up turning against us and taking on our tradition. As their own.
Yes, that's when I think that's when the biggest steal took place. But you see,
that's what a lot of people don't know. And those Mongolian people, those people, we ran those people up into the mountains. Like during the Dark Ages, like we ran those people up into the Caucasus Mountains. And we hired those people to help us fight against the other religions that was around us. And they joined on with those people and got strong.
Yeah.
And
The other thing,
they stole all of our manuscripts like what you're talking about right now, bro.
Yeah. So in 70 AD, when the Romans ransacked Jerusalem, that's why they hid all those scripts in Qumran, because they were trying to hide them then. So, when you really go back, probably the starting of the big steal was Alexander, but then the Romans, because you look at what they did, they ransacked everything. And then when Constantine in 325 AD declared quote unquote Christianity the religion of the Roman Empire, that's when through all the Council of Nicaea, Council of Constantinople, I forgot all the ecumenical councils, but that's when they really started collecting up all of our books and putting them in becoming the Vatican. So they've been stealing it slowly, really over time. Also, go ahead, brother.
And they stole all of our manuscripts and turned around and went up to teach us our own manuscripts.
You can't make this stuff up. The truth is stranger than fiction.
They sent us seminary schools to teach us our own literature that come from our forefathers.
But see, here's the other thing that they did. So back in the first university, they were all, universities were started to teach the Christian faith. So they had those back then, and they were also mandated through the Catholic Church to teach the Christian doctrine over and above the scripts themselves. That's what it means when the Pope is called the vicar of Christ. And so, you know, the Pope really has, according to the Catholic Church, he is the representative of the Most High in the earth. And his word, when he sits down and he writes what's called a papal bull, and he sits down in what's called ex cathedra, when he speaks, it's as if God himself spoke. And if he says that the Sabbath is Sunday and not, then now that's where, remember we talked about replacement theology before.
Yeah.
That's where that stuff started coming, those papal bulls, and, you know, because Constantine declared that, you know that statement, when in Rome, do as the Romans do?
Yeah.
You know where that came from? That came from all of the believers outside of the city of Rome lived according to the Shabbat. They lived according to the law, statutes, and commandments. But if you came into Rome, you better do what Rome did.
Uh-oh.
And so, or you'll die. No, what? Yeah, you'll die. It wasn't just good. It was you'll die. And so what they started doing was they started making sure that when the Roman soldiers went out, they started establishing more churches outside of the city of Rome, so that the Roman influence would be what it is. That's what we're at today.
And just like that next rule that you're talking about, that same pope, the power from that pope is what put out people in captivity. Because
You better believe it.
that papal bull is what was signed to say that black people were able to be put into slavery, that we were less than human.
That's right.
Y'all do what y'all want to.
Yeah, indefinitely.
Pope Nicholas.
Slavery forever.
Right.
Yeah, them paper bull, they nominated black folks to be perpetual slaves. Yeah, that's what they done.
But I asked that question because I wanted to establish that for the people in the chat. You know, those schools were set up, and you know, a lot of people say that's the white man book, that's the white man book. No, that's our book. But the white man was able to get his hands on our book and put himself up over us to teach us our own book.
And
And the person's not going to treat you right, they sure not going to teach you right.
You sure right?
But let me say this, brothers. Here's something that the Most High has taught me a long time ago. I teach my students, and it's called providential superintendence of the Holy Spirit. And that's a big theological phrase you can get when you get a PhD. That you can. What's happened is God, the Most High, has watched over His word, so that no matter what they say or do, there are times that He forces them, even against their own wit, to write the truth in spite of themselves. I'll give you, for instance, one of my authors that I like, T. Desmond Alexander. He has a bunch of, he's an Old Testament scholar. He's got a book called From Eden to the New Jerusalem. Man, it's a powerful little book. It's a biblical theology of how to see the connectedness of Genesis 1 through 3 with Revelation 20, 21, 22. Now, I can tell you T. Desmond Alexander has written something that is just straight out, flat out true. He's a heathen by birth. But he has written what is true.
Well, I got an example, brother. I got Martin Kessler that wrote the 13th tribe.
Yeah, we got that one. And Shlomo Mintz.
The Most High put it on that heathen heart to bring out the truth. He didn't have no other choice, and he died because of it.
They killed him.
They killed him and his wife.
And the other guy, Shlomo, I think it's Shlomo Mintz. He was a history professor at Tel Aviv University. He wrote another book just like Kessler wrote. And they killed him too. The Mossad, they killed him, man. But the Most High preserves the truth. because that's his doing. The heathen may want to co-opt all they want, but our Messiah, our Most High, has made sure that he preserves the truth, whether they want to or not.
Oh,
I'll
praise.
take another one. Walter Kaiser, and I know Walter. He's got a book. Walter's written some really good books. And he writes primarily on the promised plan of God. Begins in Genesis 3:15, and ends in Revelation 22:21, and in the eternity. Now, Walter's really good writing. If you can a lot of times they'll write the truth, but they'll practice, this is hypocritical. They'll write the truth, but still go to church on Sunday. They'll write the truth and still eat pork. It's the darndest thing you've ever seen.
Boy.
That's because the Most High. There are those who tell you, the Messiah did away with the food. That's a lie, and we all know it, and they really know it too. But because they want to go their direction and they want their church to be the ruling authority. But don't think that for a minute that the Most High hasn't made them still deal with the truth. Hey, I need to get ready to get something. But I will say this. One of the things that I think is really important, and I'm going to call on particularly you brothers to contribute to this next book I'm going to write. I just finished my first book. It's a biblical theology of leadership dealing with Abraham. But I want y'all to consider contributing a chapter apiece to a book I'm writing on Hebrew Israelite theology. See, I've got a platform where I've got a publisher who has to consider manuscripts I send in.
Mm.
So I'd love to see Mikael, Stefan, Warriors, and Cortez write a chapter or contribute to that book. And you all having to do that is going to be a form of development for you as a man, as a theologian, as a preacher of the truth.
All praise. Just get with me. I can't speak for other brothers. Sound like Brother Stephanie.
Yeah, and it's
Sound like he is. Yeah.
It's going to develop your own minds. Writing is fundamental.
Yeah.
To be able to write is to really be able to take your well-reasoned thoughts from the Messiah and put them on paper.
Right.
That it communicates to the people on the chat. How good would it be if we wrote that book for them to have those things, that you have contributed to? Mikael, Stefan, Cortez, Warrior. I might write the conclusion of the introduction and the conclusion. Y'all write the chapters in between, and we submit that as a manuscript. Now, see, because I have the credentialing I have, guess what? Somebody's gonna have to read and say yay or nay.
Well, like I said, he can go places we can't. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Having that credential,
Okay,
So,
hey, Bro Warrior, you ain't gonna go, are you? Okay.
He said he's finna get him
Man,
something.
I'm hungry, man. I'm not as spiritual as y'all. Y'all got food I know not of.
No, hey, while y'all was going in, I was eating.
I was there another 20 minutes.
Okay,
Y'all go right in.
one of y'all got your apostle hand.
Go where?
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14.
Okay, I got one over here. Let me see.
Let's look at Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14.
Let me pull it up. Wisdom of Solomon 14.
And we're going to start at verse 9, and we're going to read to the end. Bro, boy, y'all.
Okay, Wisdom of Solomon. Hold on, let me pull it up. Wisdom of Solomon 14.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll be listening. That book got some meat in there. It got some deep stuff in that Wisdom of Solomon.
Yes,
That
sir.
kind of read like Proverbs. To me,
Yes, sir.
that might be. It might not to y'all, but it read like Proverbs to
It's
me.
the same author.
Yeah. Let's see. I know I had it up here. Okay. All right. You got it. Go ahead. All right. What verse?
Start at verse 9. If
This,
you can.
this is the Sefer. I ain't got the KJV. A lot of their words are translated the same as KJV. They just use Hebrew words.
I got the same one you got. But go ahead. Read it, bro.
Okay. Okay. For the wicked and his wickedness are both alike hateful unto Elohim. For that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. Therefore, even upon the idols of the other nations shall there be a visitation. He visited the idols. Woo! Because of the creature of Elohim, because in the creature of Elohim, they are before an abomination and stumbling blocks to the souls of men and a snare to the feet of the unwise.
Okay, hold on right there. So, what are these idols and these stumbling blocks that Solomon talking about? All right, go ahead, bro.
Okay. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication. And the invention of them, the corruption of life. For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever.
Okay, so what are these stumbling blocks? We're gonna bring this thing home. We're gonna bring this thing up to the day. What are these stumbling blocks? You got homosexuals in your church. You got lesbians in your church. You got transvestites in your church. But you telling them, come as you are. You got the picture of Caesar Borgia up on your wall in your church.
Yeah.
That's a idol.
Yeah. And you know,
instead of you teaching Revelation chapter 1 and showing the people what the Messiah really looked like when he came in the flesh, because the scripture tells us if you can't confess that Christ came in the flesh, okay, when he came in, if you can't confess that he came in the flesh, you can't enter into the kingdom of the Most High. So, by you not being able to stand up in that pulpit and say, Jesus was a black man.
yeah.
And his skin was so dark, it looked like he burned in a furnace. And his hair, it was white like wool.
Yeah.
Like the hair you got on top of your head, black man. Black woman.
Yeah.
Black boy. Black girl.
What's your nationality?
Right. So instead of you being honest about Christ in the flesh, you'll put an idol up on your wall and you'll allow your congregation to believe that Christ was a homosexual white boy. And you would teach that. That's a stumbling block, Hebrew.
Yep.
You're gonna be punished for that.
Yeah, that man. When I thought about the punishment, I'm like, ooh, I don't want no part of that.
You telling these people that think in your church it's all right for you to be that way. It's okay. You can go have a abortion. That's all right. You get that blood on you. If you don't repent, you going to hell.
Right. With gasoline draws.
Another stumbling block they got, you know what I'm saying? The major one they love to use just all down the way. That's a stumbling block.
Yeah. And you know what? It's one thing to come as you are, and it's another thing to promote that they stay as they are.
But that ain't in the scripture. You can't find that in the scripture. Know what come as you are.
You know, I ain't never thought about that.
That is not scripture.
And you know something, Mike? When you said that, I had a revelation. You wouldn't go to the doggone courtroom with your butt cheeks out. You wouldn't go up in there with, half naked, and if you do, they gonna tell you to get right. But when they come to church, you think they ain't supposed to tell you nothing.
Yeah, you heard him say the Bible say come as you are. That Bible never say come as you are. Ain't no scripture in that Bible say come as you are.
Good.
All right, keep reading for y'all.
Okay. For by the vain glory of men they entered into the world, and therefore shall they come shortly to an end. For a father afflicted, here you go. Here go the Pope right here. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he has made an image of his child, soon taken away, now honored him as an Elohim, as a God, which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. I know you want me to. Huh? Yeah, I knew you wanted me to stop there. Yeah, he did that. That's what's up in these folks' churches now. Since the bullshit. The Pope made an idol out of his son, and here you go right here, chapter 15, Wisdom of Solomon. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he has made an image of his, he commissioned Michelangelo. Huh? I mean, verse 15. Okay, yeah, correct me. People be trying to find. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he has made an image of his child soon, he commissioned Michelangelo to paint an image of white Jesus. And created white Jesus out of thin air.
You notice, warriors, when Solomon wrote this before this even happened.
Yeah.
This plot actually happened, y'all.
Yeah.
Ahead, bro.
Okay. Taken away. Now honored him as a Elohim, as a God. So the Pope had an image of his son created and worshiped, which was then a dead man. Is he not dead? And delivered to those that were under him in ceremonies and sacrifices. This whole Roman beast is worshiping white Jesus. Y'all, he ain't gonna get up. So y'all think that if y'all thought he rose from the grave, you're making a grave mistake, and you need to come out in the cemetery. You making a grave mistake and come on out of the cemetery. We living over here. We eternally living over here. Not the dead. let me. I know somebody probably can't see that. Let me. That's what you wanted me to bring out. Okay. Let me see. Okay. I put that in highlight form. Thus, in process of time, a wicked custom grown strong. Christianity was kept as a law. We said Sunday is the new Shabbat. And graven images, Mother of Mary, and all these other idols they got going. I'm probably getting ahead of you. I'm sorry, Brother Stephen. I'm probably getting ahead of you. This is what I see as I'm reading. And I know you done seen this. That's why you put me here.
Bring it out.
Okay. Graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings. Okay. Now, y'all commandments. You either had to worship this or they put you through torture stuff. Can I show y'all something right quick? Go ahead. Yeah.
If you didn't keep the custom that they kept, what would they do? They kill you, man.
Yep.
It was the same thing up under the Grecian captivity. During the Maccabean revolt. That's why they were fighting them. Because they were killing them because they wouldn't eat the pig.
Look at this. Can't nobody come. Look. Stick it. Look at what this is at. In the man rectum. You was either gonna do what they said right over here, Wisdom of Solomon, or you gonna suffer. And I want to show y'all, most of these people was Hebrews.
That picture you have on there, that's what they did to the brother. That ought to be a black person.
That's what I was thinking. They did this to us. They didn't do that to them. The Spanish Inquisition. Go ahead, brother. The Spanish Inquisition.
They would take the women and they had one that was smaller, but they would put it up their vagina.
Dirty dogs. Yeah, yeah.
Down until it went all the way up the wall.
Now look, they was claiming it was illegal to do water torture to ISIS, or was it Al Qaeda? Look, wait, look, water torture right here in the church. See, when I see stuff like this, man, I be looking for somewhere to. I be looking, you know. I'm gonna be quiet. Hey, y'all know Mashiach when he beat them folks out the temple. I'm looking for a whip and some butts to beat out the temple. You know when he beat them up. I'm telling y'all, righteous indignation. These darn devils. Look, who sits down and think of this? Man, if you gonna kill a man, go and do what you gotta do. Give him a brick shower, whatever.
Hey, when you get through reading that, you can find what you're talking about in Mark chapter 12.
Okay. Look at this stuff, man. Darn devils. Look at that. Look at that. There go your clan right here, family. Here go your clan. The boys in the hood.
Look at the one standing over there to the left right there in the back. Look at them. Got their priest clothing on.
Yeah. What are you taking notes for? Let me see. We put that in the playbook. That worked pretty good. Y'all got any more out there? What do you need to take notes for, y'all?
Oh, man. And whatever he hollers aloud, that's what he writes down.
Man, and I'm telling y'all take this white image off that wheel and put black folks there. I'm telling you, watch that. Y'all ought to watch that Reclaiming the Throne. Have y'all seen that?
You got to watch it.
Y'all seen that?
Watch all three of them, I'm telling you. You've got to watch all 3 episodes of that Reclaiming the Throne.
It was on Tubi. Right there.
Yes, sir.
It's on Vimeo too. Yeah. Y'all gotta watch that. But anyway, I ain't trying to show the trailer. But it was on Tubi. I'll check right quick, but nevertheless. Man, look at these folks.
We saw it last week.
Look at this. Put black folks right there. They whitewashing everything. Man, these darn folks. And here we is. We done been sexually. And to think about these sexual sadists. These folks that like to dress up in masks and whip and play like they getting abused. Look. Look, y'all. Oh, okay.
Now, that's for the end. I want you to say that, bro, boy, y'all.
Okay.
Don't worry about that right now.
Okay. I thought I did something. Yeah. But let me, yeah. You said a Bible verse. What Bible verse? Do you want me to finish reading or what you want me to do?
Yeah, finish this Solomon.
Okay. Darn devil, man. This got me fighting mad. They doing this. They still doing it. They're still doing it. Okay. What was I here? Okay. Command worship. Okay. Let's start at 16 again. Thus, in the process of time, a wicked custom grown strong was kept as a law. Either you gonna keep it or we showed y'all what you was gonna get. And graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings, whom men could not honor in presence because they dwelt afar off. They took the counterfeit. Look, let's think about this. Colonization, missionary work, missionary line, whom men could not honor in presence. They couldn't be there. I see missionary work right here because they dwelt afar off, the 4 corners of the earth. They took the counterfeit of his visage all far. I might be reading it wrong. No, they took the counterfeit of his visage. This is his image. The image that they made of his son, right?
Yeah.
From far, and they took it everywhere and made an express image of a king whom they honor. They what they tell us? White Jesus is king. Yeah. To the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him who that was absent, as if they were if they were present, if they were there. Okay. Also, the singular diligence of the artificer. Okay, also the diligence of the artificer, I guess the one that making the artifacts, did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition. For he, perchance, willing to please one in authority, forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion. So they're getting the best image that they can get. Am I reading that right? Y'all correct me.
They dress it up. They dress it up.
Also, also the singular diligence of the artificer, being the one who made it. Then have to set forward the ignorance of more superstition, meaning they added more to the fairy tale.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They made it more spooky or more superstitious than that spooky scene.
Okay. Yeah,
As
break.
they went around. You know what I'm saying?
Bring it out. Yeah.
It's just like in the Hebrew neighborhood right now. You can say, man, I seen Russ Stanton over. Now me and my wife could have been outside, mowing the yard, and I told her, go in that house, I'm gonna mow the yard, get out the way. Yeah, you not there the yard talking to wife the other day. I seen it. Girl, you should have seen it. Same. They just add to the story.
Yeah.
You know how black folks do.
Yeah.
They add to the story.
Yeah. Add on, lying and going on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we sure do that.
He turned water to wine. I saw Willie turn water to wine. He tell you, we didn't sell block seat.
Yeah, Reclaiming the Throne still on Tubi. I just checked. It's still on Tubi. Reclaiming the Throne. Yeah. But okay, what?
Verse 19.
Go ahead.
For he pre-adventure willing to please one in authority, forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion. So in other words, he went out his way to make this image more beautiful than what it really was, what his heart really looked like. You see what I'm saying? He went out his way to make him blue eyes, blonde hair. For he peradventure willing to please one in authority, forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion. And so the multitude allured by the grace of the word.
Remember them black folks? Remember them black folks crying over white Jesus?
Yeah.
That's what I thought about when you did that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so the multitude allured by the grace of the word took him now for a God, which a little before was but honored as a man.
He was a son of a king. Yeah.
Bring that video back on people. Man, we definitely go out there for it. We already live.
Yeah. Okay, crank that video or roll that footage. Let me see where I'm at right here. Okay.
Yeah, hair blowing in the wind, right?
9/11. And 9/11 forced so many Americans to even question the existence of God, simply because they were not prepared.
Why y'all listen to this crybaby?
That other people.
It's the same asshole that was crying on the video.
all the time.
What? Did y'all prophet the prophet was coming?
Huh?
Why y'all? This is the same crybaby that was on that we had on that was crying about his prophet lying.
It's what was lying?
His prophets.
Oh.
Why did you prophets tell the people want to know? Why did you prophesy that this thing was coming? That's how you cry. Why did you prophesy that it was coming? They're so hurt that they come to me and want answers like I ain't give them nothing. Nothing. Go ahead, man. Put the video.
I will point out to you the significance of truth. And again, much of the problem in the prosperity preaching and even preaching period. And I think the question has to be asked, if you can't preach it in Somalia, is it gospel? Because oftentimes we have preached Americanism for the gospel. There are no lotteries in Zimbabwe. And so you can hit it rich in America quite easily. But most of the time when people have made money and make it rich in America, there was a plan somewhere. There was a check in the mail, but the check did not come from heaven. It came from some specific place, and certain circumstances allowed that money to come that way. And oftentimes, we have made ourselves rich simply preaching this hocus pocus gospel, and we have not developed the individuals to go after the opportunities that are before them. And so consequently, we have a backlash. Because I go throughout the world and people will tell you, I gave in every offering. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And I'm still struggling to meet my rent. I'm still having a hard time making my car payment. But the bottom line is, when you should have followed the stream of opportunities, you were out partying and doing a whole lot of stuff.
Hold on, stop. You hear what he just said? It wasn't what I told you that I was lying, preaching this false doctrine of tithing and prosperity that I was. It was your fault because you was out there partying.
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that.
No, that ain't what he's saying. That ain't what he's saying. What he's saying is, because of the prosperity preaching of these mega churches, people are in a situation to where they can't pay their rent and make their car note. But he's giving an example of what they're being told by these mega preachers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's not saying that it's their fault. He's saying that this is what's going on with this prosperity doctrine. He's talking against the prosperity doctrine.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's also saying, I preached that part, but he's also saying that, you know, people have to take some responsibility to not be out partying all night. You know, just because you gave your money at church, you can't be so foolish as to go out and party all night, do what you want to do, and think somehow through this prosperity message, you're going to get the windfall of heaven.
And he's saying, like, as pastors, he's saying that they need to stop.
That's right.
These people, if you give your 10% out of your check, then miraculously, God will make sure all of your bills get paid.
Yeah, that's a lie.
And they go out and spend their money on foolishness because they think God's going to send them money from heaven.
Right, because they pay their 10%.
Yeah.
And that's what they're being told. You pay your tithes, the Lord will make sure all your bills get paid.
My parents told me that. Pay your tithes, the Lord will bless you abundantly. Okay.
I'm gonna tell you something else.
But he also saying what Brother Gaylor saying, like, you can't listen to these pastors telling you if you pay 10% of your money, then you can squander what little bit you got left, and then miraculously God will pay your bills.
Nope.
You go out and spend your last $40, your last $80, and your light bill $75. You go out to the nail shop and get your hair done, and now because you paid your 10% at church, you think that a blessing will fall out of heaven to pay that light bill, because it's not.
See, that's spookism. It's spookism. That's a spook. What I mean by that, it's superstition. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't walk around that. Don't split no pole, God. Split your ass. I'm gonna split your behind. Shit like that. Break your mama back. So you just keep all your 10%. And the Lord gonna bless. Man, I'm telling you, man, this is all on this, man. That's why it's hard for people to see the truth, because they believe it's stupid.
Yeah. Superstition.
Another thing I want to add to, see, everybody don't read their Bible. And I know that because all of us on this panel, we read our Bible and we study to show ourselves approved. And we're not easily misled by anybody just telling us anything. But brother, it's people that's out here in this world. It's a lot of them. Because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be so many multi-million-dollar preachers in the world right now.
You sure
They
right.
believe what these people say. They take that stuff literally.
You sure right.
I mean, why not take it literally? If you believe you step on a crack and you break your mama back, you don't break your mama back anytime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is You know what I'm saying? You know the church is superstitious or super, you know, they believe in man. If you supposed to believe in the Most High God, why aren't you having Trump tree in your church?
Man.
Why aren't you doing Easter egg hunt? See, that's spookism.
Yeah,
that's
that goes right into that Wisdom of Solomon, that chapter 14.
Really?
That superstition, what is it? Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want anybody listening to misinterpret what we say.
Right.
Because can the Most High and will the Most High give you a blessing? Yes, He will. Yes, He will. Can He do all things above and beyond and abundantly? Yes, He can. But you gotta be a good steward over what He gives you.
Yep.
Oh, praise.
You can't listen to all these smooth sayings. And these people that got a good singing voice, they can get up there and make bumps stand up on your own.
That's emotion. That's spookism. That's exactly what that's emotionalism.
If you don't give 10%, God gonna strike you that. See, it's spooky. Spooky.
The little man robbed God.
They robbing them right then when they say that. Some of them. You robbing them of souls.
They say when a man robbed God. I robbed the pastor. Look, my mama told me to pay $20 church. I can't be went to the skate ring.
All right, brother warrior.
Okay. Rolling on one.
That's when I didn't know God.
Rolling on one.
Sermon is not going to change the outcome of your life. You have to sow positively, and ministry must put people in the frame of mind that moving from one stage to the other is a process. There is no quick fix to our situation. And so consequently, it allows people to feel the stimulation of discipleship. You have to be a disciple in order to move from one place to the other. Most of the fellows who made it rich in ministry are disciples of their ministry. I mean, they work on it night and day. I have 5 million miles on American Airlines alone. I lost a wife running after ministry because everybody can't sit around and have you gone all the time. Oh, I might as well be real with it. We have gone after this stuff in a way where we are driven. We are driven beyond the norm. And all of a sudden now we're presenting a gospel that is to people no discipleship. Jesus had his fellas for 3 years. We want to just wake up and get called, and then we spiritualize every text. One man said, the Lord spoke to me. So he opened his Bible and he pointed to the scripture, and it said, Judas went and hung himself. He said, well, let me try this again. He flipped it over and touched the next one. And the scripture said, go down and do likewise. He said, well, the baseball players get 3 tries. So he opened it again, he hit it again. That thou doest, do it quickly. There has to be some hermeneutics to our presentation.
But Bishop, let's be real about it. Since you said you want to be real, there isn't a lot of hermeneutics to the theology. What we get on television from these prosperity preachers, what we get in our pulpits on Sunday mornings from these prosperity preachers, is that God told me to ask you to put $100 in the offering this morning. And that
You know what, get to Ezekiel 13 right
told me to tell you.
What you say now?
You might want to go get to Ezekiel 13, Carl. Go right there.
Ezekiel
What
13.
we read earlier. Yeah, go back to about 1 minute. What he said, God told me.
I have dreamed.
Yeah. Sister Onika, God told me to tell you sow a seed of $800 to the mission. Cash App scrolling on the
He said wind it back about a minute. Right.
I gave you to sow a seed of $90 million.
I see you rubbing your hands together down there, Mike. You got a plan, though.
So what he
You got a plan. You rubbing your hand down there. You see all that?
Hey, I'm just saying. I'm just giving an example.
I know it.
I see the word of the Most High coming to my mind when he said what he said. Brother Terry Smiley, when he said what he said, Ezekiel 13 came to my mind. You know what I'm saying? You get bombarded on TV.
I have a dream. I got a dream. I got a dream.
You get bombarded at church about this prosperity doctrine. I mean, that's the norm today. Is prosperity. Then look what we had that I can.
And we ain't prospered yet.
You know what I'm saying? We got prostitution in the streets. We got murder in the streets. But the church ain't doing nothing but collecting money, hands over feet.
You got down here where I'm at. It's almost a church on every corner. Almost.
But now, y'all teach too much hell and damnation. And they tell people they going to hell if they don't repent. You can't say that.
Hey, y'all know this judgment's coming. Now the judgment's here. You know Pastor John Gray?
I
Y'all
don't.
know that brother was?
Yeah, put him on the screen. Put him on the screen, there, brother.
Man, that brother is on his
Let me know when I get to him. Oh, here he is right here. Go ahead.
He's on his deathbed right now because of some sexual morality and all that money and stuff he was getting. The Most High has put him on his deathbed.
Every time you cheat on his wife, he'll go before the church and say it was because he was molested when he was a child.
And bought her a Maybach so she'll shut up.
Oh, that's the same preacher.
Yeah, we played him earlier. Yeah.
So he been cheating a while.
So the Most High put him on the deathbed?
Yes, sir.
Is that who the minister of wellness was talking about?
They've been asking for prayer. He's got pulmonary embolism. He is dying right now. As a matter of fact, what we understand, he ain't gonna make it.
What is that? Explain that in layman's terms. Pulmonary embolism.
Can you dumb that down to the
To me, I don't know what did it mean, Brother Gabriel?
yeah, what
What's
that
that
mean?
now?
Yeah, what's that?
Oh,
Yeah, what's that?
it's a blood clot in his lungs.
Ooh,
Oh,
Consumption of the law.
that is, yeah.
hey, Brother David. He said he got one in his lungs. Hold on, Charlie, hold on. He said he got one in his lungs.
A pulmonary embolism.
All right, y'all talk. Hold on, let me get this up on the screen. Get this talk for me. Talk to her. Hold on.
Hey, brother Josiah said, did he take the shot? See,
I think so. I don't know.
yeah. I know right after that people got through taking this little stuff, these little shots. Crime just shot through the roof, man. Y'all notice that?
They lose their mind.
Young folks start, dropping like flies.
Chicago really got wrapped up in it.
But look, hey, yeah. But you know what? I think the white supremacists do in Chicago. They don't never find nobody, and they got cameras everywhere. You mean to tell me you can't look at the vehicle that was in a specific, you can't stop the cameras that's on every corner and look at the time frame of what time somebody was shot to scan all the vehicles that went through these intersections.
You're speaking the whole truth there, brother.
Man, I believe white supremacists doing that.
And you tell me what gang member have you ever known that will walk up to a 9-year-old girl walking down the sidewalk and shoot her back of her head?
I don't know now.
They don't
When we call, we coming for a reason. When I say we, because I'm an ex. I've been with the guy. You know what I'm saying? You hear me?
Every gang member I know loves children.
Yeah, you sure right. And you get caught messing with him, you might get stoked out.
That's right.
You could be reading the bottom of some shoes.
There's a little girl walking down the sidewalk in Chicago a couple weeks ago. Somebody come up from behind and shot her back of the head.
Police are, that's the only profession where you could not do your job and still get paid. You get paid for not doing your job.
Have you saw the video of the police officer that was in that school when that last shoot was at?
Yeah.
And then his phone while his wife was in there getting shot.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
He was texting on his phone while the governor was in the school.
Ain't no way. If I know my wife in there, I'm going straight to her. They can fire me or do whatever they got to do. At that point, it's damn a job.
His wife had texted him and told him she was shot.
Man, I wouldn't be standing there, man. Oh, okay.
That whole phone.
Yeah, okay. Standing there all calm. I don't know what kind of man. He should have been the first one in line.
They was told to stand down.
I don't care, that man. It's my wife.
I know that's right.
If she died, I die.
Yep.
Stand down, nothing. A doggone woman off the street. A woman off the street went in there and got her kids. No training, no weapon. Off the street.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Listen to this, y'all. This is Leviticus 26 and 16. I will also do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning coal that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow upon. And you shall sow your seed in pain, for your enemy shall eat. Now watch this. This word consumption means in the Hebrew shall eat. Alright, here, Egypt is out. Alright, this word means in the Hebrew, brothers and sisters, the biblical outline biblical abuses, consumption, wasting disease, a wasting disease of the lung. So, Brother Gaylor, what he's suffering from?
Exactly what you read right there.
Consumption, wasting disease. What's the scientific European term for he got?
Pulmonary embolism.
And that is a consumption, brothers and sisters, a wasting disease and disease of the lungs. Alright, I'm sure.
Why the Most High says he commands him not to stop.
And his wife better get it straight or she can be like Ananias and Sapphira. Hope y'all heard me or not.
Yeah, we heard.
Okay.
What his wife been seen?
Well, you know, Mike, she's a sympathizer with sin. So, you know, he'll go out and cheat and act crazy, and then come back in front of the church and say, well, I was abused when I was little, and then buy his wife a car or something, and she go right along with it. That's sympathizing with sin.
He bought her Lamborghini, he bought her Lamborghini.
Yeah. Every time he hears something.
He bought her a Lamborghini.
Yeah. And then people in church act like that's okay, because what? It's up to her to forgive him or not. Well, she got a choice to forgive him or not, but it ain't up to her, it's up to the Most High.
Right. Why they didn't sit him down? What the Bible said? The Bible said sit him down, don't it? Okay.
Who will sit him down? He the top dog.
Well, you leave. You sit him down, everybody leave. Well, his money done dried up. His river done ran dry.
Man, brother, I'm gonna tell y'all something. They go back to what that dark skin pastor was saying at the beginning of that video. You remember there was a time that every church had a deacon board. Every church had these committees that would hold each other accountable, including the pastor was held accountable for their actions. See, that's the reason why nowadays they done away with all of that. Now,
Cortez got a testimony.
ultimate power.
But what you said is different, Brother Cortez got a testimony. But when he tell you about that, what you said is true. Every church had a deacon board, they had a trustee board, usher board, they all choir board.
I'm getting bored
Yeah.
because they ain't doing nothing.
Hey, Cortez, what that pastor tell them guess for said he can't hear. But yeah, this pastor said, he ain't going nowhere. Now y'all messing with my butt. That's what he told me.
Y'all effing with my money.
He think he a pimp? What is he, a pimp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now y'all effing with my money.
Woo.
All right, crank that video back on Hebrew.
Yes, sir. Mike. That was uncanny what you just did. That consumption. Yeah, people have to see that. People have to see these curses, huh?
I said, I don't pray to the Most High.
People have to see these curses. They're gonna fear the Most High. We're gonna teach them. The Bible tells us to teach the people to fear the Most High. That's your. You want to be safe? That's it. There you go.
I mean, that's what you see right now. You know, this man-made stuff that's out here. That the Most High used the heathen to put the terror up on the earth. This consumption. What is it? What is this stuff?
Lesson on that, Mike. We did a whole lesson on that word.
Right. This consumption that's consuming individuals. Now they got so scared and lack of faith, they already got the solution. They still kicking in the law.
And with this new variant that's coming out, they said that mosquito bite, it ain't gonna have no variant on this new. They gonna be just like they ain't never got it.
Yeah, you know what else I say today too? I forgot to tell you, brother Stepping. Guess who stepping down as he stepping down. Fauci stepping down. He said he's gonna retire. He stepping down.
They got too many receipts on Fauci. His hand is in the cookie jar of making the solution. So how you gonna have your hand? Yeah, huh? Yeah. How you gonna have your hand in making a solution and then telling people they gotta take it? Yeah.
He legalized this LGBTQ thing.
Yeah.
And he didn't do nothing.
They do good. They do nothing for us.
All right. He served his purpose. Now look at it.
Yeah. I don't worry about him.
They only bring him out during the election season.
They might well put him back in the kennel. Cause black folks really ain't feeling him. That's right. We're gonna feel his word. Yeah.
You wrong because our ancestors they fought to die to vote. They fought. They
word of the Most High say that we not supposed to vote to put no heathen up on our feet. So if it's not a Hebrew, you ain't got no reason not to vote for him anyway.
Well, them Hebrews was definitely Gentiles. See, you wrong, brother. You Gentiles.
I know it. So is. I'm just as much as a Gentile and them heathens over yonder in Jerusalem and too.
Now you know some of y'all gonna sneak out and vote for Trump quietly as it's kept.
If I could vote, I would vote for neither one of them.
I know that's right, brother. Definitely.
Man, you think I'm gonna go out and vote for anybody? Man, I'm staying my butt at home.
If black people in America got any type of pride or any type of self-worth or any type of, like if you got anything in you, any ethics or anything, you wouldn't go out and vote. Man, look at what these people have done to us. They have done nothing for us. Why would you go vote for another demon?
No, gonna demon crack.
Vote for a lesser evil. Ain't no damn such thing as no lesser evil. Right.
All right, Eddie Murphy. What was that? Yeah. Yeah, Vampire Brooklyn. Oh. They might as well be preaching the same sermon. I'm gonna mute myself for a minute. I'm gonna tell these folks on this other platform to come on over. I'm shooting them a link. Okay. Okay. All right. Hold on.
Right. So again, you flip it over and touch the next one. And the scripture said, go down and do likewise. He said, well, the baseball players get 3 tries. So he opened it again, he hit it again. That thou doest, do it quickly. There has to be some hermeneutics to our presentation.
My bishop, let's be real about it. Since you said you want to be real, there isn't a lot of hermeneutics to the theology. What we get on television from these prosperity preachers, what we get in our pulpits on Sunday mornings from these prosperity preachers, is that God told me to ask you to put $100 in the offering this morning. And that if you do that, the Lord told me to tell you.
Because people are looking for a quick fix. It's like.
I done messed up. Y'all hold on, bear with me. I don't know which one of these links it is.
The 911 number with all the sorcerers and all the people who are going to read palms. That stuff was sent straight to black people. Because oftentimes we want a drug, and the church becomes a drug where we can preach, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and people just subscribe. But that's not the way it is. You have to have discipline. You cannot overlook the principles of God and God go against his principles and make you rich. God is a God of principle. That's why medical science works. That's why aviation works. That's why you can put a boat in the ocean and it goes across the sea, because there are principles. And people want to bypass principles because they lack discipline. And the preacher wants to get rich on the ignorance of the people. You got to turn around and tell them the truth, so that the only Bentley in the driveway is not yours. You got 20 out there.
Very frankly, to the point, is it money well spent? There's a big debate ongoing in our community about the millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that we spend building buildings. James Cole raised this point earlier. The money we spend building buildings. There's a lot of folks in this audience, and I'm sure watching us around the country and around the world, who question. I'm just asking the question. Who question whether or not it is money, Jeremiah, right? We should be sitting on this next. Jeremiah, it is money well spent, as opposed to spending that money on programs and on services. We walk over homeless folk in some of these cities to get into the church. Is it money well spent?
I must point out that you have to go back home. And your pastor said he wants to answer that. I just want to point that out. You got to go back to your pastor. And you said you don't care, Bishop Joe. Let Jeremiah right there said you will hear from him when you get home. Paul Morton said if we don't have no authority, then what are we leading?